One of the tougher parts about Way Down was trying to find the right amount of score to put in that's not diegetic. Uh, so like music, that's not the music being played within the film. Uh, uh, it was an interesting experience because a couple things. One of them is that clearly have it's a musical, so we clearly have to make maintain that importance for those songs. And then the other one was how much do we actually use, and what type of film is this? If this was kind of a film that was a bit more mainstream or more modern sensibilities, then of course you kind of use score a bit more liberally. You use it at a lot of the emotional spots to enhance the emotions, just like most movies do. You probably do it during transition moments, and just as many places as you can. Most films try to do that. Um, for us, we definitely knew that this was going to be kind of a minimalist film, and one just out of necessity, and then two because that was the stylings we were trying to go for anyway, regardless of like necessity. And so we just needed to know how much was too little. So if we were going minimal, we needed to make sure that we had to find balance that allowed breathing room and room for the audience to like sit in the feelings without being interrupted by having too much music or too little music. So I worked with a couple people, and ultimately Joshua Jackson, who goes under the name Lo-Fi, Hi-Fi. When I'm butchering it, that's for sure. But if you look for him as Hi-Fi, he's a DJ, and he makes his own electronic music. It's really cool stuff. If you like Nujabes or Sabajun, whichever way you like to pronounce his name, you kind of understand the type of music he's doing. So he ultimately came in and he made a few sketches, and we kind of collaborated and talked about like where are the most ideal moments for music. And so you kind of shoot a little bit more than what you're comfortable with, and then you start scaling back, so that you know exactly where the music's going to be. Because again, this is going to be minimalist. The reason for that is that we really wanted it to be important for the person watching the film to feel like the world was a little bit more alive, like a little bit more real, by sitting in the silence, in the real world silence of these characters, with these characters, and just hearing the clicks and clanks of the world around them, just like how it really sounds. We don't have great equipment, so that's going to be included in it. So why not embrace it? Why not just take in all the extra sounds that we can't hide? So we play around with where is music appropriate, and where is it not. I'm a huge fan of like Alejandro Inarritu films, where there is a lot of very little use of score. Ballast is a huge influence of mine, who influences me a lot. And that film has no score, no music at all, but it feels so real. And my goal as a filmmaker is just to make things that feel a little real, to somehow capture that somehow. That's always difficult, especially because you have the tendencies and desires to want to make it a little bit more surreal or heightened. But I wanted to make sure that it felt a little more grounded. So because of that, we decided like music was pretty much for the most part going to be transitional montages only. When there is small montages of people traveling to a little bit longer distances, and I felt like that allowed it to keep them contained so that they didn't spill out into like using them over the top and then suddenly making the scenes over dramatic or melodramatic. One of the exceptions is at the end when it's getting towards the final moment of the film, and then just the music comes in, and you kind of sometimes you do have to take those liberties to play with the emotions and use the music as a signal of like, okay, things are starting to go to a different place. There's music coming up. The movie has been going for a while, so this music is kind of a sign that we're starting to end and things are going to wrap up. Not only because of when gentle music's playing as people are getting ready to go to this final show, but also the music itself that we used there was kind of a callback to the music at the beginning of the film. So it's kind of like creating that weird cyclical kind of idea. And then, of course, just reusing it when appropriate. So, again, in my opinion, I like when music's used sparingly because I want to sit with characters. I want to sit with them in their silence and their emotions and their reality, and to me that's what's important. Though, admittedly so, I love all these other films that use non-diegetic like crazy. I love Fast and the Furious films. I love Christopher Nolan films, which, as you can see back there, that primarily uses music almost nonstop throughout his whole film, and a lot of his filmography. And then again, like this, where it's kind of used sparingly, and then it's basically transitional only, and then you're just kind of left to feel the loneliness of these characters. And, I kind of use that to try to focus me of like, okay, when is it appropriate? Same thing with the film that I'm working on now is especially since it's not a musical. It's like, remember, don't overuse it. Slow down and be patient when I'm going to use music. And the music should, for me, at least be only during transitional moments or like montages. The rest of it is when it happens. If it shouldn't really happen a lot, just because I want you to sit with the characters in the next one that I'm working on. And in general, I can't even lie. Music is a huge influence of mine in terms of like what it does to people. And I've started to already notice that in a lot of the projects that I'm either planning or that I have planned, that there's like a kind of like a special use when it comes to music. So I just don't want it to go to music, and if it's diegetic or non-diegetic, to go to waste. So I always try to understand that. So with Way Down, I had to think about it in two levels: the non-diegetic, because that's where we're slowly influencing the audience, and then there's the diegetic of what's being played emotionally from the character. So that was a very interesting and weird process that took a while, but eventually we got there. And so I'm definitely glad I learned patience from that.